Hi all, welcome to Salesforce for Beginner channel. Today I'm going to teach basic part of Salesforce Lightning. So in Salesforce Lightning today I'm going to discuss what is Salesforce Lightning, MVC of VisualForce Page, and then MVC of Lightning. After that I will discuss what is the difference in VisualForce Page and Lightning. So first I will teach you what is Salesforce Lightning. So here you can see Salesforce Lightning component. So Salesforce Lightning component is a framework for creating the UI for application and website, which can run in mobile, desktop, and browser. So you can see the definition of the Salesforce Lightning. Basically, it's a user interface from which we can create the UI for website application, and that website we can run in mobile and in desktop in iPad. So it's a Salesforce Lightning component. Okay, now we will learn what is the MVC of Salesforce Lightning. So before studying the MVC of Salesforce Lightning, I will teach you MVC of VisualForce Page. First, we will understand MVC of VisualForce Page. MVC means Model View Controller. So here you can see I have created one control side and one server side UI. So what is client side? Means what client side can see. So client can see whatever you will write in VisualForce Page. So whatever you will write in VisualForce Page, client can view. So view is VisualForce Page. And then what is model? What is controller? Okay, view is VisualForce Page. So what is controller? Controller is Apex class. And what is model? Model is database. So VisualForce Page, it's a view. Whatever you will write in VisualForce Page, it will display to the client side. So it's a view. If you want to write any logic, so logic we write in controller. Whatever logic you want to write, backend part, we write in Apex class controller. So class is a controller model. It's a database where you will store the information. Where you will store the information. So database is a model. So I'm taking simple example. Let's suppose I have created report page for object and client is able to view that page. So if client is clicking on save button, so report should get saved in database. So how it will work? So when user will click on the save button, what will happen? One method will fire. When user will click on the save button, method will fire. Method will fire. And in Apex class, we will write the logic. In Apex class, we will write the logic. What should happen when user is click on save button? So I will write the TML. So I will write the TML. With the help of TML, record can get saved to database. So in Apex class, we write the logic like TML, these things. Let's suppose if you want to fetch the record from the database, if you want to get the record from the database, so we will write the logic. Means I have created one button, display record. So when user will click on the display record button, so method will fire. Method we will write in Apex class. So in Apex class we write the SOQL for fetching the information. So with the help of SOQL we will get the record. With the help of SOQL we will get the record from the database. After that, record we will send to the VisualForce page, and these record will display. So when user will click on the display button, method will fire. Method will in method we will write the SOQL. SOQL will fire. SOQL will fetch the record and display in VisualForce page with the help of VisualForce page. So if you want to save the record into database, so we use TML. We use TML. And if you want to fetch the record, so we use SOQL and SOSL. So it was this MVC of the VisualForce Page. So now we will discuss MVC of Lightning, how it works. So it's a MVC of Aura Lightning. So view in Lightning is Aura component. We will study MVC model view controller. So what is view in Aura Lightning? So Aura component. Aura component, it's a view. And you can see it is the client side, it is on server side. So on client side, Aura component is view. So if you want to display something to the client, so that logic, that tag you will write in Aura component. So view thing you will write in Aura component. So I'm taking one example. Let's suppose I have created one calculator. Client is able to view the calculator. And in that calculator, I have created two input field, A value, B value. And I have created one button, calculate means add button. I want to add the value. So when user will click on the add, user will enter some value. When user will enter A value, B value. So these value we store in attribute of the component. So in Lightning, whatever the user will write in view, that value we store in attribute. A value, B value. User is writing in calculator, user is writing A value, then B value 20. So that value I will store in attribute. Okay. Now I want to write the logic. I want to write the logic. When user will click on the add button, so output should be displayed 10 plus 20, 30. So logic, if you want to write the logic in Aura component, so we have client side controller, that is JS controller. So in Lightning, we have client side controller, that is JS controller. So in JS controller, we write the logic. Let's suppose I want to add the A value plus B value. So logic we write in controller, A value plus B value equal to C value. So in client side controller, we have variable, JavaScript variable. In variable, we store the information. So if you are getting the value, means user is entering A value, B value. First, it will store in attribute. And if you want to write the logic, so that logic will write in client side controller. So if you want to write some logic, so for taking the value, for getting the value, we create some variable. In that variable, we store the information. Then with the help of these variable, we write the logic. After that, we send it to the Aura component and Aura component view display it. So it's a simple mechanism. Aura when user will click on the any button, client side controller will fire. So in variable, we store the information. Okay. And if you want to share some data, so we can also share. So let's suppose in for calculating calculator, we don't need to call the server side controller. But if you want to insert some record, from UI, means client is writing the employee name, employee salary, and these employee information I want to store into database. So that time how it work. So view or a component, it's a client side view. So when user will write enters employee name, so that value will store into attribute. Then we will, for logic, we will call the client side controller. In client side controller, we store these information in variable. So in client side controller, we cannot write the TML operation. Means if you want to store the information into database, you have to perform TML operation. But in client side controller, we can't not write the TML. In client side controller, we cannot write the TML. So in client side controller, we cannot write the TML. So what we do, we call the server side controller. We call the server side controller. What is it? It's a Apex class. It is a Apex class. So it is a server side controller. Okay, so when you want to insert the record, you will click on the button. Client side controller will fire. Client side controller will call the server side controller. In server side controller, we store the value in the form of variable, and after that you can write the TML, insert variable name. So that value you can insert into database. So it's a model. That value you can insert into database. Simple. And if you want to display some record, so in that situation, what we will do, user will click on the display button and client side controller will fire. In client side controller, we cannot write SOQL also. We cannot write SOQL, SOSL also. So it will call the Apex server side controller. It will call the Apex class. So in Apex class, we can write SOQL. So with the help of SOQL, we can get the record, we can retrieve the record. After that, we will write the logic in client side controller for getting the value from server side controller. So that value will go to the client side controller. After that, from client side controller, we can send the value in attribute of Aura component, and with the help of value provider, we can display the value to the client. We can display the record. So it is the MVC of the Lightning. So now I'm going to discuss what is the difference in between in Aura Lightning and VisualForce Page. So first difference means Aura Lightning design for Salesforce Lightning experience, and VisualForce Page is designed for Salesforce Classic. Means whatever you are writing in Aura Lightning component, so that UI you can create for the Lightning experience, but in VisualForce Page, the UI you can create for the Salesforce Classic. Second one is mobile responsive, which means Lightning is a mobile responsive, but VisualForce Page is not a mobile responsive. Mobile responsive means if you have created any website with the help of Lightning and you are using that website in mobile, so the screen of the website or content will automatically adjust on the basis of device. So it's a mobile responsive. Means if you are using the application or website in pad, so it will screen will automatically adjust. If you are using it in desktop, it will automatically adjust on the basis of device. But in VisualForce Page, it's not a mobile responsive. Means whatever the application you have created with the help of VisualForce Page, it will run in mobile, but when it will not automatically adjust. Let's suppose if I'm opening that application in mobile, so I will need to zoom in and zoom out. If you want to view something, you have to do zoom out, zoom in, this thing. But in Aura Lightning, you don't need to do zoom in, zoom out, this thing. It's a mobile responsive, it will automatically adjust. Then third point is single page architecture. Lightning is a single page architecture and VisualForce Page is a multi-page architecture, which means single page architecture means in a single page you can add many components. And if you user is performing some operation on a single component, so complete page will not reload, only that component will reload. But in VisualForce Page, when user will click on any component or any page, so complete page will reload. That will take time. Means all the backend logic will fire. And due to multi-page architecture, VisualForce Page is slow and Aura Lightning is a faster. Then fifth difference is Lightning is based on the JavaScript framework language and VisualForce is a tag-based language. So that's all from my side. Yeah, thanks all.